The multifaceted implications of international borders warrant a comprehensive exploration, shedding light on their complex and often detrimental consequences. These demarcations, though ostensibly geographical, carry profound socio-political ramifications, entrenched in historical narratives of conquest, colonization, and territorial disputes. Borders, while ostensibly delineating sovereignty, inadvertently breed division, perpetuating an us versus them mentality that fuels nationalism and exacerbates societal rifts. This segmentation restricts the free movement of people, curtails access to resources and opportunities, and reinforces disparities between nations. Furthermore, the enforcement mechanisms associated with borders, such as stringent immigration policies and militarization, not only breed hostility and conflict, but also catalyze human rights violations, from border detentions to tragic migrant deaths. The repercussions of these artificial divisions extend beyond physical barriers. They infiltrate the global socio-economic fabric, impeding the collective progress and perpetuating inequalities. Economically, borders often act as impediments to trade, hindering the free flow of goods and services and stifling potential growth. Additionally, they exacerbate global economic disparities by limiting access to markets and opportunities based on geographical happenstance rather than merit or need. The concept of borders also intersects with environmental concerns, as these demarcations impede collaborative efforts to address climate change and ecological crises. They disrupt ecosystems, limit collective action, and hinder cooperation towards mitigating global challenges that transcend geopolitical boundaries. In contemplating the detriments of international borders, it is crucial to envision alternative paradigms that transcend these divisions. Advocating for a borderless world necessitates a paradigm shift, one that emphasizes collaboration, inclusivity, and shared global responsibility. It involves reimagining sovereignty not as exclusionary, but as a collective commitment to address common challenges. Embracing a world without borders promotes the free movement of individuals, encourages cultural exchange, and fosters a sense of global citizenship. It embodies the ideals of unity, peace, and cooperation, aiming to dismantle artificial barriers that impede human progress and solidarity. However, acknowledging the complexities of geopolitical realities, discussions surrounding border abolition require nuanced considerations. Addressing concerns about security, resource allocation, cultural preservation, and governance mechanisms in a borderless world demands thoughtful deliberation and strategic planning. Yet, this should not deter the pursuit of a world where the emphasis lies not on divisions, but on unity, where humanity's collective well-being transcends geographical constraints. In essence, the exploration of why international borders are a flawed construct necessitates a profound re-evaluation of our perspectives on sovereignty, identity, and global interconnectedness, envisioning a future where unity and cooperation supersede divisive boundaries. One fundamental reason, highlighting the adverse nature of borders, lies in their reinforcement of socio-economic disparities and the perpetuation of inequalities among nations. These arbitrary demarcations create barriers that hinder the equitable distribution of resources, opportunities, and wealth, effectively delineating privileges based on geographic happenstance rather than merit or need. This geographical lottery, determined at birth, defines access to education, healthcare, economic prosperity, and basic human rights. Consider the stark contrast between two neighboring countries separated by a mere border. One side flourishing with economic stability, robust healthcare systems, and ample opportunities, while the other grapples with poverty, inadequate infrastructure, and limited access to essential services. These disparities are not a result of inherent differences between the people, but are exacerbated by the existence of borders that govern resource allocation, trade policies, and economic opportunities. The division imposed by borders perpetuates a cycle of inequality, limiting the ability of disadvantaged regions to uplift themselves from systemic challenges. Developed nations, fortified within their borders, often benefit from global economic systems, while many developing regions find themselves marginalized and exploited within this framework. The disparities are not merely economic, they encompass education, healthcare, technological advancements, and even cultural exchanges, leading to a world where opportunities are disproportionately distributed based on geographic circumstances beyond an individual's control. A pertinent example of neighboring nations with contrasting economies is the case of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, which share the island of Hispaniola in the Caribbean. The Dominican Republic has experienced relatively more economic stability and development compared to its neighbor Haiti. With a diversified economy spanning agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and services, the Dominican Republic has seen notable economic growth. On the other hand, Haiti faces persistent challenges, including political instability, natural disasters, and a history of economic struggle. The country grapples with poverty, inadequate infrastructure, and limited access to essential services. Factors such as political turmoil, corruption, and a lack of sustained investment have hindered Haiti's economic growth and development. Despite their shared island geography, these neighboring nations exhibit significant economic disparities. The varying approaches to governance, economic policies, investment strategies, and historical legacies have contributed to the divergent economic trajectories of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, emphasizing how neighboring countries can experience vastly different economic outcomes due to internal and external factors. Addressing this pervasive inequality inherent in the existence of borders necessitates a re-evaluation of the very concept of territorial division. It demands a shift towards a more equitable global system that prioritizes fair distribution of resources, opportunities, and rights. The intricate and tumultuous history of Palestine stands as a testament to the deeply entrenched repercussions of international borders, particularly exemplified by the racist Zionist movement's foundation of the State of Israel. The imposition of borders in the region catalyzed a narrative of displacement, conflict, and prolonged oppression, creating a festering wound that continues to afflict the Palestinian people. The Zionist movement, culminating in the establishment of Israel, relied on a nationalist ideology that disregarded the existing Palestinian population, leading to forced displacement, dispossession, and the denial of Palestinian rights, a tragic consequence of border politics and nationalist fervor. The creation of borders delineating the State of Israel further exacerbated tensions, resulting in decades of conflict, violence, and systemic oppression against Palestinians. The October 7th attacks in 2023, symbolic of this enduring strife, intensified the cycle of genocidal violence, border disputes, and racist policies against Palestinians, even within Israel proper. These incidents are emblematic of how the existence of borders fuels and perpetuates conflicts, often at the expense of marginalized communities caught within these geopolitical divisions. Moreover, The existence of borders acts as a catalyst for the entrapment of Palestinian populations within the confines of conflict zones, particularly evident in Gaza. The blockade and strict control of borders have transformed Gaza into a besieged enclave, effectively functioning as an open-air prison, where residents face severe restrictions on movement, limited access to essential resources, and enduring cycles of violence. Beyond the Palestinian context, this serves as a stark illustration of how state borders perpetuate oppression and entrapment of marginalized communities globally. Borders, when weaponized by states, serve as tools of exclusion, oppression, and violence, facilitating the marginalization of vulnerable populations. They restrict freedom of movement, hinder access to essential services, and perpetuate cycles of conflict, exacerbating humanitarian crises and perpetuating injustices. Tamar Herman and Ephraim Yukman Yar's Borders and Boundaries in Israel. Between the Green Line and a Policy of No Choice provides a nuanced view of how Israel's border policies intertwine with historical contexts, significantly contributing to sustained conflicts and systemic oppression. This scholarly work meticulously dissects the relationships between borders, societal attitudes, and perpetuation of conflict dynamics within the region. It emphasizes that borders, particularly when entangled with colonial legacies, play a pivotal role in perpetuating sustained conflicts and systemic oppression. While borders might not be the sole reason for conflicts, this research underscores their profound influence in exacerbating tensions and perpetuating injustices within complex geopolitical contexts. It doesn't advocate for erasing borders overnight, but emphasizes the need for critical re-evaluation of border policies. Borders, when employed within colonial frameworks, can intensify inequalities, restrict human rights, and perpetuate divisions. Someone might say, "Oh sure, because a single example should define everything, right? Israel might have some issues, but does that mean we should scrap borders altogether? I mean, every country has its problems, and it's not like borders are the sole reason for conflicts, right? Plus, it's not as if erasing borders will magically solve deep-rooted geopolitical issues overnight. Borders might not be perfect, but they're necessary for maintaining order in a world full of complexities and diverse ideologies." The argument against abolishing international borders and solely attributing Israel's conflicts with Palestine to this issue raises valid points, but warrants a nuanced exploration. While it's true that a single example might not encapsulate every aspect of global geopolitical challenges, Israel's situation with Palestine offers profound insights into the ramifications of borders enforced through historical colonial legacies. The argument for maintaining borders, for maintaining order, and safeguarding national interests is valid to an extent, but it's essential to acknowledge their implications in perpetuating conflicts, as evidenced by scholarly works like Borders and Boundaries in Israel. This doesn't necessarily call for an immediate eradication of borders, but urges for a nuanced understanding of their impacts and the need for more equitable and humane border policies that prioritize peace, justice, and respect for human rights within a global context. However, with my Marxist perspective, I see a different vision. I envision a communist transition where borders evolve before their ultimate dissolution. A nuanced approach entails redefining the purpose of these delineations. Initially, redrawn borders could separate countries based on ethnicity and language to create a more peaceful and attractive communist transition. These redrawn borders will stay in place before they could be shifted into redrawn economic zones instead of borders as we define them today. These will be called economic zones. Economic zones are designed to facilitate equitable resource distribution and collective management, not to divide populations. These zones will be drawn on a map. They serve a different purpose by transcending national boundaries, fostering cooperation and resource pooling among regions based on shared needs and specialties. In a communist society, an economic zone represents a designated region focused on collective resource management, production, and distribution for the benefit of all inhabitants. These zones transcend traditional national borders, aiming to optimize resources, expertise, and collaboration across diverse regions. The government oversees these zones within a unified global economy, ensuring equitable resource allocation, fostering cooperation among regions based on specialized industries or shared needs, and prioritizing collective welfare over individual profit. The management involves decentralized decision-making, collective ownership, and strategic planning to maximize productivity, innovation, and the equitable distribution of resources across the unified world under communism. Can we create this world in practice? Well, let's look at how things are now by looking at the material conditions. Material conditions is a core concept in Marxist theory that delineate the economic, technological, and social foundations of a society. To simplify, material conditions in Marxist theory refer to the basic factors shaping a society. Things like how we make things, economy, the tools and technology we use, and how we interact socially. These conditions determine how goods are made, who owns what, and how people live and relate to each other. They're the foundation that shapes how societies grow and change over time, influencing everything from economics to social structures and cultural norms. Understanding these conditions helps explain how societies evolve and the forces driving historical changes. To envisage a world without borders, these material conditions must evolve to foster a global framework based on equitable resource distribution, shared ownership, and collective welfare. It necessitates a shift from capitalist structures characterized by private ownership and competition towards a system founded on communal ownership and cooperation. As technological advancements and productive capacities burgeon, they enable the potential for abundance, a crucial aspect in paving the way for a borderless world. With this, we can understand the world and begin to cultivate a planet where there are no borders and divisional constructs. We can create a borderless world where scarcity becomes a relic and resources are no longer concentrated in the hands of a few, but are collectively managed and distributed to meet the needs of all. The replacement for borders within this framework transcends physical demarcations. It's a system guided by interconnectedness, cooperation, and shared responsibility. This new paradigm centers on international solidarity, fostering a harmonious global society where the material conditions underpinning it ensure the welfare of humanity and the planet, transcending the limitations imposed by traditional borders and aforementioned nationalist ideologies. Borders, while seemingly providing structure, often act as divisive barriers, hindering the potential for global unity and progress. Beyond the economic implications, they perpetuate social, cultural, and geopolitical fractures, exacerbating conflicts and inequalities worldwide. In the context of the Middle East, border disputes have fueled long-standing conflicts, including the Palestinian-Israeli issue. The dissolution of borders offers a profound opportunity for transcending these conflicts, fostering dialogue and reshaping relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. By dismantling borders, the emphasis shifts from territorial disputes to shared humanity and common goals. This paradigm shift holds the promise of promoting peace, cooperation, and collective problem-solving. Beyond geopolitical strife, borders restrict the flow of ideas, innovation, and cultural exchange, impeding the full realization of human potential and global progress. Removing these barriers encourages collaboration, exchange of knowledge, and the celebration of diversity. It's an invitation to create a world where cooperation, compassion, and collective well-being supersede territorial disputes, paving the way for a more equitable and harmonious global society. Thank you for exploring these concepts with me. Your interest in understanding complex ideas is appreciated. For more discussions on communist principles and related content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious and engaged in shaping a better understanding of our world.